and welcome to the SmackDown review. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, joined by Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture, here to review everything that happened on this week's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review SmackDown, but also the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete with a very good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Michael Hamflett to review this week's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Never has a jingle been truer than that one right there for this episode of SmackDown, baby.
I thought you were going to start your intro with join us wherever you get your SmackDown coverage from, whether it's View, Odeon, and Cineworld. Well, I mean, where'd you... I don't think this was a great episode of SmackDown, I think this had one of the best WWE segments of the year.
Yep.
Let's talk about the whole show. Some elements of it were just fantastic. The WWE of 2024 I've come to expect. Some elements of it were bad, but that's okay.
Disagree.
That's okay, because for 8 minutes,
Oh my God.
I break the button.
I said to executive producer Paul Levesque, here we are now, entertain us, because I was in Pro Wrestling Nirvana. The business was back. It had never gone away.
What?
Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, because that's also a film reference.
Michael Hamflett, what did I text you a video of on Saturday morning?
You texted me video evidence of how the segment between The Rock and Roman... Freudian slip. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns was intergenerational double goated, because what I saw was not... well, hang on, let me rephrase actually. What I saw was two all-time greats face-to-face living in the moment, watching The Rock and... done it again! Watching Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Because I saw Papa Wilbourn feeding baby Wilbourn. But it wasn't just Adam and Eric. It was the friggin' monkey and Simba in The Lion King. You may as well have been holding him up, saying, here, one day, son. I don't actually like The Lion King. I don't know, so I just know there's a bit where the birds fly up and it says sex. Because...
SFX, but yes.
Is it SFX?
Yes, a shout out to the creator of the...
Oh, that's quite sweet.
Doesn't just say sex.
What about in Art Attack, where the head's hair says sex?
Oh, no, yeah. He was a horny bugger, that head.
Is that
what does everybody want?
Is that why he was called the head?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that makes sense. This is an Art Attack.
I'm the Neil Buchanan of WhatCulture. Just put it out there.
I mean, I would like...
You're the head, but it's just a square block of... There you go, Brian. What's that? That's going to be one of the quickest ones.
The head from Art Attack. And like the head from Art Attack bit was always like it was a really rubbish version. So like when you're off and I have to be the host, it's like that's my wrestle culture. That's like it just like I'm missing the I'm not hitting the vocal or hitting the thing when you run and I'm just talking over it. Wrestling in a studio audience, I've did it again. Yeah. There was a great moment that I isolated when I sent it back to you.
It was fantastic.
I put it in grayscale and I clipped it. And it's one of the dramatic pauses that then gets the piano keystroke. Boo! And as it goes, boo, Eric's just happily eating his breakfast with you. A beautiful father and son Saturday morning moment.
Wasn't paying any attention to him.
And why would you? And it goes, boo, and he went like that. And all of a sudden it was...
Teach him young.
Even he was being taken to the cinema for the very first time.
He was getting well fed, and so was I. Apologies, by the way, if you're hoping for the SmackDown Photoshop early. Due to staff shortages, let's be perfectly honest, this video will be going up late, but sometimes you have to wait for the best films of the year to come out. So Joker's not out yet. Joker's part deux.
Yeah, like Phil's going
or whatever it's called.
Phil's going to be the one doing the editing and post-production for us, but it's like how sometimes the screener copies don't get sent around everybody.
Indeed.
In Oscar season. So you don't always necessarily, like, you see it. Like, if we put this out today, it would, as we're recording, it would be like the podcast and everything, but it would have like screener across the middle.
Yes.
So pirates can't take it and get their own version of it and stuff like that. So we need Phil clean all up. Just take that extra day, that 24 hours post-production. Really have time for people to get it right, which is certainly what they did with this 8-minute masterpiece.
Yes, we will get to that in due course, but let's start at the beginning of the show. They had a recap of everything that happened the previous week, and then the Bloodline go through. I was like, why are they showing them going through
sweet bit, this.
The scanners? And they're going, where do you think you're going with that scanner? And then Jacob Fatu kills everybody, ending with the line, anybody else want a pat down? And I was like, me please.
Good bit, this. Nice, cute bit. And not without, like, this wasn't wasteful television for the sake of it. Solo wasn't here.
No.
And despite the fact that he is now in kayfabe a pretender, as well as in reality, this was an important little setup device for they can still be dangerous without the tribal chief. And if anything, that helps the story they're telling, because you can say that two different ways. I'm going to use a different tone of voice now. They can still be dangerous without the tribal chief. So does that not render the tribal chief pointless? It's all tacit teasers of where all this is eventually headed.
In case I forget, later on in the show, for some reason they do the thing that they normally do when they're on an ad break or whatever, where they're like, show us your best signs.
Yeah.
And they missed the best sign. There was one that, it didn't say such and such, more like such and such, but that's what I read from it, because it just said, toilet chief, so.
Got him.
That's probably why he wasn't there. He probably heard that was in the arena. He went, well, I'm not showing up to that.
Turns out that's what the t-shirt meant all along.
The
original toilet chief. Original toilet cleaner. And it's just like it, but it's got the toilet duck logo above the
duck,
T.
yeah.
I loved the duck shaped bottle when I was a kid. That was a good gimmick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a duck.
Don't drink it, whatever you do.
Don't buy the Asda bleach. Clean the bog with a duck.
Right, the show started with the security getting killed. And then we began with the United States Championship match. It was L.A. Knight versus Andrade, who almost got beaten straight away. L.A. goes straight for a blunt force trauma very early on. But Andrade rolls to the outside of the ring. We head to a break. When we come back, Andrade's in control, chopping him. Goes up top, hits a crossbody, gets a 2 count, but they go to the outside, and Knight slams Andrade's head off the commentary table. He gets back in the ring, does Andrade, gets hit with that nice slingshot shoulder block that LA Knight does. That gets a 2. They fight on the apron. Andrade sends Knight into the ring post to take over, goes up top, hits that moonsault from the top, obviously. Normally, it does the thing. They go to another break.
One of these days, you're going to hit that first time.
Andrade goes to the double knees. Knight moves, hits a DDT. That gets a 2. Hits a neck breaker. That gets a near fall as well. Andrade elbows Knight off the top rope, and then they do the miss moonsault, Sunday moonsault bit. Hits the double knees in the corner, but Knight kicks out. Runs at Knight, but Knight catches him, hits a power slam, and that elbow of his from the top rope. Goes to the BFT, but Andrade counters into a roll-up, and then a wild one of those spinning back elbows, which I think where things went a little bit awry.
Yeah, we'll get to. Sorry, you speculated.
Andrade goes up top, and LA Knight goes to do his awesome jump into the top rope thing and fails on a couple of occasions. And that was the moment I went, is he all right there? In the end, because Andrade's trying for the message, the final message, I think it's called if it goes off the top. He just shoves Knight down, goes for a dropkick, but Knight moves, hits him with the BFT, 1, 2, 3. Post-match, Knight gets up, holds up his championship, but he's bleeding a bit from the eyebrow, and there's a little bit of a pointing and a gesticulating thing going on, and LA Knight offers a fist bump, but Andrade offers is a handshake technically?
Yeah.
High-five handshake thing, and neither man will budge from the hand thing that they're doing. In the end, Andrade raises Knight's arm, but yeah, they both looked a little bit pissed at the end of this.
Should we just toast ourselves already for a podcast well done, even though we've only got started? Good work, Wilbourn.
Hey, it's like me at the end of football. Every Monday I do this, and I never know. I always just start walking around like that. Well, good game, mate, good game, because I don't know if we're doing that, if we're doing the COVID.
Oh, is the elbow one still a thing?
No, I don't think so, but just in case. Hey, stay safe, everybody.
This fell apart to such an extent that I think it's the only thing anybody will remember about this, which that's not to say that the match was good.
The match was good up until the spinning back elbow spot, which was awesome. But
it was good in that way where so little and this is not like a specific dig at Andrade and LA Knight, or indeed the story they're telling with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, more on that presently. But I use the example in the Dynamite main event. The last sort of 4 or 5 minutes of Wednesday's Dynamite main event, for those that didn't see, it was Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, and Konosuke Takeshita versus the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada, and obviously, the talent I've just listed there. I'm kind of going to give you it's like a very high floor for that match.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens in that is that immediately, like even the middest version of that match is going to be the sort of thing that like a lot of wrestlers in the locker room are aspiring to one day achieve on their best ever night. And then those 6 wrestlers take it into the next gear and the next gear and the next gear. And it's so good that you sit there loving what you're watching and also thinking, this is now the normalized in-ring style, but so few people are actual expert practitioners of it.
Yes.
So a lot of matches simply cannot achieve that level even when they're working towards it. And I would classify this as an example of that because the work is good. It is very occasionally great. It is extremely slick for a while. And then the only thing slick after that is the ropes. Right? When it falls apart, as these matches are wont to do if the wrestlers are trying to achieve that next level and break through. And LA Knight's spot is a perfect example of that. There is a man that a lot of the time keeps it straightforward and once in a while will, and when it works more often than it doesn't.
Yes.
And it has that in the exact same way. I feel like the first person I ever saw do that was Shelton Benjamin. And it really elevates the game for a moment and you're just like, oh my God, this match has now gone to the next level. This move is proof that the match is now going up a gear. And that's why wrestlers do it, is because they look at that 6-man and be like, Christ, is that the standard? Like, I want to just do my power slams and a sweet drop kick and really work a body part, but that's what they're potentially expecting for a basic TV main event. I'm going to have to try and do this.
Yeah.
Up I go with a vertical leap. God, I've slipped. Can I recover this? I think I've made it worse. Right, one last go. It's worse than ever. We're S and the B out here.
Yeah.
So then what you get is what feels like an infinity passes when in reality it's only seconds.
Yeah.
But, at which point Andrade, for those that haven't seen it, Andrade kind of feels like he nopes it in the moment and says, look, you had 3 goes at this. We're just not doing it. We're doing my thing instead. They improvise their way to the finish where LA Knight gets the blunt force trauma, and that gives you this horrifically awkward post-match scene where neither man, we were talking about this over the desk this morning, I described it as when a politician wants to win a handshake. There's this thing where obviously some PR operators or some body language experts have sat in with politicians and said, leaders especially, and said, when you're in a handshake, stuff like either your hand needs to be the one leading the handshake. So if they've gone in with 1, you clasp with 2.
Yeah.
It's like a hard camera thing, like in the performance center. Your hand should be at the front of the camera because it just makes you've got your arm and it's more dominant.
They're getting
stance.
dragged into it, aren't they?
All that sort of stuff. It felt like that was what was happening. So one's going and the other one's going, and neither wants to relent. It's like, if I fist bump you, I've lost this turf war. If I put the hand out for you, then I've surrendered my power to you. And it's when you're watching that and you've just seen what you've just seen physically, it's really hard not to put 2 and 2 together and make 4 and say a miscommunication has thrown everybody off here and it's kind of uncomfortable.
I want to see him fight again, though.
Well, and that's wrestling. That's the benefit of wrestling. The example we often use for the good and bad of it is Nia Jackson Charlotte. We remember it and we talk about it to this day because of how that was any other Raw TV match before it suddenly wasn't.
Yeah.
So maybe there is juice in this fruit, and maybe what I'm saying here is redundant, but I just feel like everything before the botch was that kind of good. All the wrestlers are trying to be some of the best wrestlers in the world. And then the botch was an example of why, maybe if you do your best version of yourself, that's the best. Maybe have range, maybe don't. Maybe that doesn't need to feature in every match. Maybe, I'm not speaking of this spot specifically because LA Knight does do it. But there are wrestlers that will add things to their game that they don't necessarily need to.
What was it Dusty said? Stop trying to do things you don't know how to do, or something along those lines.
It just sounds so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you see why wrestlers feel the need to.
Yeah.
And this is not me doing it. To balance, to level the playing field here, by the way, Like, that's not me using an AEW Dynamite example as some sort of AWWE thing. It was just the first example that came to mind. I'm an advocate for there being, like, range.
I agree.
I think it's more important to have range than it is to have 10. I would rather have a card of 10 matches where 5 of them would be given 2s on Cage Match if they've got their own, like, memorable identity.
Yes.
But it does create situations like this, and it's a hard balance to strike.
And we talked about, jumping slightly ahead, the fact that after this, Melo's watching this go down, everyone going, hoo. LA Knight and Andrade in particular look pretty pissed at the end of that.
Yeah.
Melo's like, I'll go and start a fight with him backstage now, because he goes up to him afterwards and says, oh, you choked harder than the Kings did against the Lakers.
Go on. Wait a minute. Who are those teams?
The Kings and the Lakers. Oh.
So when the Kings beat the Lakers in May, it's flipped it.
Yes. No, Lakers beat the Kings in May.
Well, when the Rock
I'll
did
be
it.
sure to come back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May.
Now the Kings have beat the Lakers. They've finally got
No,
revenge.
the Kings choked against the Lakers.
Oh, the Kings choked. So the Rock was right all along.
When is he ever wrong?
Fair.
Yeah, and I've written here, it escalates into a brawl. That's the nicest way of putting it.
Jesus Christ.
Was it the 6th one next week, I think it is?
Yeah. Andrade.
Yes, please.
Andrade Melo 6. And this is the benefit of everything I've just waffled on about incoherently. Wrestlers have adrenaline. And that adrenaline needs to go somewhere. And if Andrade was shoot pissed as a result of what happened the other night, it went the best possible place, right in Carmelo Hayes' face. This was, and like maybe there's so much bar raising going on in WWE. Maybe they'd watched like an all-timer backstage brawl on Raw and thought, well, we can't touch that. They've got props. They've got, we can't even do the cinematic stuff because, Cody and Roman have got that on lockdown this week. What can we do? We can just try and batter each other.
Yeah, Braun and Braun have chucked each other into everything. So let's just hit each other as hard as we can. And they did that. And not that I needed to be sold on a 6th match between the two of them, but good justification, I suppose, because in Andrade's mind, prior to him doing this, why would he face him again? He's 3-2 up.
I like it. You love it. What's the end goal here? Because we've said best of 7 because that's just what wrestling does. Nobody's indicated that. There's been a title shot that's been fought for and won and lost. Like what you were as an even bigger fan than me of this particular series. What's your hope for this?
I hope they wrestle consecutively from now until the end of time.
End of the USA deal.
Well, they've got to fill 3 hours somehow.
So Iron Man match.
Maybe a loser leaves. Not the WWE, in the words of Michelle McCool.
Yeah.
But maybe one of them has to go to Raw. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't keep doing this, guys.
Or
What is going on up there?
I never know, man. What about loser goes back to NXT?
Oh my God.
And for Andrade, it's this like, I was the world champion there, but like, can I still give you? And Carmelo's like, no, I don't want to get my ass kicked by Trick.
Who's the world champion, presumably, by then?
Baggage, all that sort of stuff. But then that would make NXT look like a demotion, and I suppose they're careful about not doing that. But winner gets a shot at the NXT title. So it's both of their chances for a bit of redemption.
I like that as well.
And it means that you get one of these two on Tuesdays.
That gets to go to 3 hours, hopefully. Anyway, in amongst all this,
be the only podcast. It's a bit like how we'd be like one of the English podcasts saying, "Yeah, WrestleMania in Wembley would be amazing." Go somewhere else if you want. We'd also be the ones saying, "You know what WWE needs now? Another hour on Tuesdays."
I want 9 hours of WWE a week, please.
Original run fed for 9 hours. Just 9? Why not 24? What can possibly go wrong?
Prior to the backstage fight, though, we see Tiffany Stratton and Queen Nia chatting about the tag match they've got coming, the Tornado tag, I should have said on the preview.
That's important for later on.
And they're saying, it's going to be great to never see Bayley or Naomi on SmackDown again. And Nia goes, just a reminder, if you lose, you should probably leave SmackDown as well. Uh-oh.
They're not ever hiding from the tension here. This is the new WWE still, if we can call it new, 2 years in, where baby faces, and we will get to this later on, baby faces simply have to act a certain way lest they be considered stupid. And heels can be dumber, but not like blinkered to what is right in front of their face. From pretty much the moment Nia got her the briefcase with the strap and the pink like sort of cover for it and everything, it was with the caveat of, but not my belt. And then all the evidence...
Definitely going to be your belt.
All the evidence has mounted up in full view that it could be for your belt. So now that's Nia trying to get her back in lane. It's you're still a heel, so you're still allowed to be a bit more of a dumbass, but the way this dynamic is set up, she can't She can't be blindsided by it.
I simultaneously can't wait for it to happen and really enjoy these segments and matches and all that good stuff every week.
They are. Dare I make this comparison because it's one of the all-time favorites of people and it drew a monster gate for WrestleMania, or pay-per-view buy rate, excuse me, because they were in a small building. But small by WWE standards, ginormous by AWS. It was the Staples Center in LA. There is an element right now of Triple H versus Batista.
Yeah.
Where Triple H, the game, the cerebral assassin, the ass kicker, the biggest dick in the business, could not be cast as somebody that couldn't see that Batista was eyeballing it, but just wanted to think, yeah, but he's not going to step to me when push comes to shove.
Except in this scenario, Nia saying, you need to have a word with Tiff to Pretty Deadly or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations to Elton Prince.
Yes.
Well, he just became a Dudley boy himself. Dudley boy!
Hey, Dudley boys! Right. We're here. I've been looking forward to this since Saturday morning.
He's kept really quiet about this.
So, picture the scene. I mean, why are you watching or listening to this podcast if you haven't watched this already? Pause this. Go away. Come back and watch it. I'll give you a very bad recap of what happened. So, we're at Georgia Tech Football Stadium, just 7, I think it was. Black SUVs pull up. What's in the other 6?
Yeah, what's going on there? I'll move now because I can't.
Reigns, we'll get those cars at any chance you get, mate.
These money makers are going back under the table, baby.
Reigns, you got to pay for that on Cameo. Hey, we're both on Cameo.
We are both.
Don't book it through the app. They take loads of money. Cameo.com/Michael Hamflett. Cameo.com/Adam Wilbourn.
Yeah, something like that. I should have set up one for each car, shouldn't I?
Reigns gets out, walks to the 50-yard line, and then a single white car, like white gear, but white car, pulls in. Cody jumps out.
I like how the implication is like Roman is still this like big moneyed guy and he's got like a fleet of cars. Cody, little working man of the people, just his one car that's probably like $1 million car or something. Like Cody, that's one thing about Cody from the very beginning. A car, you say, it'll be the best car you've ever seen. He loved his car stuff in AEW, didn't he? Big bus. Like Cody does not drive a Ford Focus.
What was it we're reading today? Cody's one of the top 5 merch sellers across all sportsmen and athletes.
Look, sorry, just super quick, tiniest diversion. Have Bloodline fans lost their mind?
What?
I saw this over the weekend, Friday I think it was, so it might have even been before this aired. I just like, it was some engagement bait account.
I think I know what you're going
Some
to say.
engagement bait account was one. Maturing is realising that WrestleMania 40 had the wrong result.
What?
Maturing from what? Like 5 years old to 6? I just...
It didn't. It had the perfect result.
What are we doing here?
And it left that element of doubt because he could have beat Cody if he'd hit him with a chair, but he's so bloody obsessed with Seth. Like, it was the perfect story, and it allowed me to send my C tweet, obviously.
I just don't... Like, if Cody had killed the town, then...
I think WWE... I think that, you said, like, it might fall off a little bit. Yeah. I think it ends that night. People go, oh, cool. Well, why bother investing in anything? What are they going to do at 41?
That's Austin and Vince at WrestleMania 17. Like that sort of, this is the end of Steve Austin as we know. No need to watch anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's, I can't possibly believe that, I love the Bloodline. I love Roman Reigns. I go hot and cold on the Bloodline. Depending.
I love the whole of the Bloodline.
Every split second of it. I go hot and cold on the Bloodline based on what the Bloodline are doing, but I love Roman Reigns, and I love so much that he took leaving during the pandemic and turned it into the thing that got him over the edge as like the sort of the number one most valuable player in WWE. And I love that he's now an over babyface, but I cannot fathom the mindset of somebody that has watched everything post WrestleMania 40 and thought, fumbled. Cody, you fumbled the ball.
Who beats Roman then? AJ in Backlash France?
Well, but this is the thing, is this why we're talking about like Bloodline?
Is it just Rock? Brilliant. I love The Rock, and I can't wait for him to dethrone Cody. But
a take I saw, I think it was Ibu at Wrestle Purist, because that was what started off. I read his tweet in response to the Rage tweet. I replied to him, and then I thought I'm going to fight somebody else myself now because I'm so angry about it. He was saying like they're not wrestling fans, they're Bloodline fans, and that crystallized something for me. There might be people, because of how over the Bloodline got and how integral that this story has been to the kind of the rise of WWE into this like new boom, that treat the Bloodline as those people I've talked about before that pissed me off at school in like 1999, where all of a sudden they were watching Austin, they were watching Rock, they were watching Sable. I know you were watching Sable. And tuned in, like popped, then off and left me to my wrestling.
Go away. I've been here from before you got here, and I'll be here when you leave.
Yeah. Is that happening with the Bloodline? It's really made me wonder if that is like, so they might have sort of.
I think it's also a bit of like, I'll get engagement if I say something controversial.
I want to believe there's actual.
I don't know how you make money from X, but I think maybe that's why
I just want to believe there's actual human beings with feelings rather than everything being channeled into how much you get off a blue tick. I'd rather it be that they actually cared about something than seeing the little Twitter credit thing tick over. I want to believe there's like actual humans behind what appear to be the opinions of bots.
I mean, I'm only a few boxes and nappies away from tweeting. Porn Twitter's fallen off recently. I'm just waiting for that money to roll in, baby. Anyway.
Sorry.
Everything you put your eyes on in here, actually, that's true. It's mine. He talks about shit, and it's interspliced brilliantly with clips of Roman obviously playing football here, and then the story beats I'm about to get into. Roman says he shed blood, sweat, and tears on this field many times. That's why it's my field. And this is my field, this is my stadium, and this is my stadium, this is my city. What have you done for my city, he says to Cody, who just says, 7 cars, subtle. He talks about the local area, Centre Stage, the Omni, State Farm obviously now. He talks about multiple generations of his family having bled for this city, like that line. You played football here, Roman, and you went back to the beach. This might be your field, but this is my home.
Oh my God.
If I did it for every line, it'd get unbearable.
Try it.
Roman says, nice. He says, you've signed yourself into a lose-lose situation. You've got everything to lose, and you're dealing with people who have nothing to lose. You know, they took my family. Again, they took Jimmy away. They footage of all this.
Yeah.
Took Jimmy, took my wise man, took my Ulafala. Now, I've got nothing to lose. For the first time in a long time, says Roman, there's no weight on my shoulders. That's all on you. I'm a man with no country. Cody says he's not surprised. He told Roman before Mania the first time that Roman would be here as a chief without a tribe. They took his family, they took his wise man, they took his Ulafala. But you've still got things to lose. Look around you, he says. WWE already has a tribal chief. It's not you. As a WWE champion, it's also not you. If you can't beat the Bloodline, then who can? Basically says, this is not about who you turned into. It's about who you used to be. The guy they used to call Roman Reigns.
Oh my God.
Roman says, what do you want? And Cody says, I want your word. Your word, you'll have my back so I can have yours. And Roman gives him his word, but then says, understand that when this is all done, I'm going to take back that title. And Cody simply says,
Oh my God.
preemptive, it's not yours to take. Roman goes to leave.
Oh my God.
Cody steps in his way.
Oh my God.
And Roman says, you're in my way. And Cody steps back to allow Roman to walk to his 7 cars. And Roman says, you're in my way in life.
Oh my God.
I'll not do that. You get the idea. This was perfect. No notes. Perfect. Emmys, thank you very much. We'll take all of the prizes right now. And don't even bother in 2025, to be honest. Wrapped up with a bow on it.
This is what I watch WWE for at my very core. And I don't want to get lost in basically my own bollocks about matches and how important they are, because of course I believe matches are important. I feel like maybe it's been misconstrued when I've screened down the lens that matches don't matter. But this is when matches don't matter. You've got 2 enormous stars.
Biggest stars in wrestling right now.
Biggest stars in wrestling right now. But by so far, it's not even close. And the only person that comes close is currently kind of waiting in the wings, ready to make his return as and when he makes it.
Oh my God.
For another one of those. And what I loved, I think, I put like this online, but what I loved the most about this is that this was enormous. Down to the last detail, this was absolutely enormous. This looked like it had stopped the world in order for it to take place, right? So the more cars there were for Roman's entourage, the emptier the stadium looked, the more stunning all the visuals were that made it clear that this was theirs. This whole world that they had entered into was entirely theirs and nobody else's. Just made them bigger and bigger and bigger. And like to like nick one of Sidge's lines, like this is WWE just like you remember it. Because we were watching me and Sidge at our desks, because we're just incurable marks for this era. We're watching the intro to WrestleMania 6, where you see like the constellations form into the shape of Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, the Ultimate Challenger. And it's like, what WWE do is very literally there. It's saying that like they are so ginormous, they are constellations, and they are bigger than life, they are bigger than the world. This is a 2024 version of that. Back then it was a graphic using stars as in the shape of like dot to dot in the shape of bodies. In 2024 you can spend like $500,000 on a mini movie and make $500 million in profit from the outcome. Like it's exactly how you present your tippy top talents when the context supports it. And I cannot think of two men in wrestling with which this context supports more. And I would even say that as somebody that loves CM Punk, right now, I wouldn't want to see Punk and Drew do something like that.
No.
I would love to see Punk and Cody do something like this. I would
Yes.
love to see Punk and Roman do something like
Yes.
that. But who are the common denominators here, right? Cody and Roman. The Rock could obviously slot into that as well. I didn't even like it. Do you remember when Steve Austin answered Kevin Owens' challenge from his ranch?
I did, because I messaged you immediately. I remember being in the back of a car and going, Michael, it's happening. It's happening, Michael.
We had a work trip to Dallas planned. But yeah, in terms of how it looked, I'd have rather
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like Steve Austin amongst the people and the pop and the four corners and whatever. This was the perfect place for the perfect wrestlers to do perfect main event stuff. You will remember it. Like, it is a very WWE version. Maybe this comparison will just piss people off because I've seen a lot of not for me or versions of that over the way. I feel like you might have some comment on that. This, to me, is the WWE version of Hangman Page setting Swerve's house on fire.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Like, that simply does not happen. Like, Amanda's not going to another man's home, monologue for a bit with a camera, with musical accompaniment and burn a house down. That does not happen. But it does, because the context supports it, the context allows it, and you buy in. This is no different to me. It was longer.
You can say this exact same promo in the middle of a wrestling ring, but it wouldn't have the gravitas.
No, this would work in a wrestling ring if it was the go-home promo to their WrestleMania match.
But I also like the silence. You wouldn't have that with fans.
No, you can't. You get to use the advantage of a few tricks here and there. I wouldn't want it every week.
I would. 3 hours, baby.
For longer.
1 hour of this, please, a week.
Entire last hour. Everything in wrestling, everything should be viewed within the context that it exists in first and foremost. You can look at stuff retrospectively. You can maybe predict and project how you think things are going to go. But ultimately, I think it's our job doing podcasts like this, and I think it's up to the viewer how they perceive it. But it's fundamentally you as a viewer's choice to decide if you feel like this feels right within the context of what you're watching. You're very entitled to not think that. But I was watching this completely Lenny from The Simpsons the whole way, and just hanging on. Like the pregnant pauses were great because you were hanging on every single word, and it's almost better that they meet on neutral ground to basically formalize their union as a tag team because of what we got. Well, A, immediately after the video, and then B, what we got as the closing main event. The fact that this was, you could say that this was the most grandiose, preposterous, cinematic visual, right? And just be like, how on earth am I supposed to reconcile what I've just seen with? Meanwhile, back in the building, WWE told you how. With Kevin Owens,
It's perfect,
we'll get to it.
perfect conduit, wasn't
They
he?
tethered it to reality instantly. And for the physical comparison of a Kevin Owens there at work in the building, little normal Kevin Owens wrestling his wrestling matches, like reduced by design, minimized by design, because Cody Rhodes in his cut-off T-shirt making the save, and Cody Rhodes in an empty football stadium with Roman Reigns look like different people.
Yeah.
So you are with Kevin Owens the heel if he was to turn. You are even with Kevin Owens if he doesn't turn, but Randy Orton does. Like, Cody, how can you be... Well, this goes beyond, you're working with the Bloodline. I hate the Bloodline. This is beyond that. This is how can you be both of those things? You ever have friends groups that you just think wouldn't necessarily work?
Yeah.
Because you are this to that group and this to that group.
Yeah.
In Cody's case, it's being the working man's champion, Dusty Rhodes kid, a guy that kind of like has travelled some of the same roads as Kevin Owens, and God damn it, we're going to cut our sleeves off and go to work. I don't care if there's 100 people or 100,000 people who are going to do business. And then in the other one, it's suited and booted in the Millionaires Club with Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And Kevin Owens, who is increasingly like losing his faith in Cody, has to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so wonderfully articulated with the two uses of Kevin Owens on the show, that it took something that I was already in love with and actually like made it better. It canonized it as something that really could have happened in the building, and you're just kind of glad it didn't.
And I think it cut through to people who don't normally watch this kind of thing. You can say it's not for you or whatever. I mean, I could agree with you, then we'd both be wrong. I loved it, and that's me speaking personally as well as objectively and correctly. But first of all, the people who said, this really isn't for me. This isn't wrestling. I seem to remember you quite liking Le Din and Debonair when it happened. But anyway.
That was pretty divisive as well.
Yeah, but the same people.
I love that too as well.
The same people who said that, they love that, also seem to be the people who say that they didn't really like this, but whatever. Right. But a word on that. Yeah, I was seeing some friends over the weekend, and two people who at best say, how's the wrestling thing going to me, said, I saw that Roman and Cody thing. And I was like, what? How are you? And this was Sunday.
Yeah.
It was cut through immediately.
That's good.
Two different people.
It's hit their socials basically.
Have gone, what the hell's this?
Yeah.
So it's an objective success. And I can't wait. Like, I can't believe they're going to be in a wrestling ring slapping hands and tagging after this. What's that going to look like? The world's going to stop.
And that's what they want you to think.
Exactly.
That's when I use the Hogan Warrior comparison. Watch that intro back to WrestleMania 6. Now watch it. It doesn't matter that Hulk Hogan's an awful person and Ultimate Warrior was one. Nor does it matter that it's being voiced by Vince McMahon, a third awful person. It's like you watch that intro, and it is. I use the phrase "end of the world" all the time because I feel like that's what wrestling sells you 6 days a week, and then on a Sunday it says, "Oh, guess what? Twist: end of the world's Monday," and then you just live like that forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But rarely do you get that end of the world feeling quite like when it's the big stars doing big star stuff. And this was the quintessential example of that. There was one other point I was at pains to make when you were saying about the people watching it. That was it. We have a thing, don't we, where sometimes our long-suffering better halves will sort of decide how much wrestling they really want to take in as part of their marriage contract ultimately. And I remember me and you watching live the WrestleMania kickoff in Vegas, and it's both one of our shows of the year. Like end of the year awards, I know I'm still going to talk about that show. And there wasn't I was going to say there wasn't a punch thrown in anger, there was a slap.
I need to watch it again. I've just thought about it. I need to watch it again.
This to me felt like the pre-made, pre-tape version of that. You know, if there was like, God forbid, never again. You know, if there was like that felt like almost like a pandemic version of that.
Yeah.
When they would have to come up with creative ways to make something that feels as big, and that was in a live setting in front of Las Vegas, like fans in Vegas going nuts in WrestleMania season, and there's The Rock on stage. They achieved that same level of excitement with a pre-made mini movie.
Just a quick word on that, because I meant to mention this earlier. Sean Ross Sapp saying, obviously Paul Heyman, Jeremy Borash, and Rob Fee all instrumental in this. They deserve all the credit in the world.
I love Jeremy Borash's name being included in that, because he was somebody that was miles ahead of the curve when it came to this kind of production style. And it was necessary in the pandemic. It was, for better and worse, being honest, but it was innovative when it was the Hardys in 2016. You know, it really did push wrestling. I know some people would argue it didn't push wrestling forward, but it pushed wrestling in a direction that some of wrestling needed to go. And I think this feels like a sort of, like I would worry that Jeremy Borash, somebody that I care a great deal for from his TNA days, might have one final beat on his CV. You can just rub that off and put, that's
fine.
Just as good as anything. Just now include that. Scrub that off. Put Roman, Cody, SmackDown.
Georgia Tech
2024.
So we cut back, Kevin Owens is watching. Baron Saxton asks him for his thoughts, and he just walks off. More on him in a bit. And then it was time for Giovanni Vinci versus Apollo Crews. And they're winning me over on this. I don't know what the hell this is, but I want to see what happens with him next week. So no messing about this week from Vinci. No entrance for Crews. But Vinci comes down. No jacket or any of that bollocks. Just comes in, attacks Crews, chops, slaps, ground and pound, beats him up basically, and then does that thing where he's chucking Crews effectively legs first into the ropes to try and just destroy his knee. He picks up Crews to hit him with something, and Crews wiggles out of it, rolls up Vinci, 1, 2, 3. Vinci can't believe it. Neither can Crews, really. He's celebrating, and Vinci just attacks him, brutalizes him, hits him with a brain buster, and then just yells at him. He loses again, but this is far more not digestible. Is that the right phrase? Far better than what they did a while back, where he just sort of lost because he was taking his jacket off. And I did like Corey Graves saying it. We're not going to act like Cody and Roman's entrances are not 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You couldn't have given him time to take his jacket off.
Does it feel like the difference between, because I was thinking about that too, like what is it that doesn't leave me as like cold on this as I did the last one? Does it feel like the nature of the finish the first time against Apollo Crews actually made you stop trusting the process, and this week it brought that back?
Yeah, it may well have been punishment booking for the first one. But
because
they've
it's
also
still two losses.
Yes, but they've also previously they'd just gone, and he gets his win back, and we're back to the races. And you're like, well, no, we're not going to forget that he lost in 3 seconds or whatever it was.
But
now you're like, they're going somewhere with this, obviously.
There is a direction for the character, because the first one is a banana skin that the wrestler himself waves off. The second one is an outright loss, but results in him kicking AS at the end. And that's that old, truthfully, Vince McMahon's WWE thing of like, well, he's going to win, but nobody's going to care because you're going to get the heat or whatever. That doesn't work long term. So you want to believe that this is the beginning of something bigger, something, I don't know what that, like, I
could far more take now someone saying in 6 months' time Giovanni Vinci is going to be US champion, for example, than immediately after that, because I'd have gone, how?
Because the other side of it, the other side of this is that Apollo Crews is 2 wins up and probably no further up the SmackDown ladder. And this is why this booking used to be so destructive.
Yeah.
Because you've had a man that is 2 wins deep and will achieve nothing as a result of it, and it's because they used to use it as a trope rather than as an actual. So what should happen from this is Apollo Crews, in like a perfect world, Giovanni Vinci has going on whatever Giovanni Vinci's got going on, but Apollo Crews is going to Baron Corbin and saying, hey, I'm 2 up. And then either Corbin is buzzing and they get going as a tag team, or Corbin is jealous because he's like, well, why can't I win matches or whatever. I feel like both lives from here have to matter. They both have to like if they've really got interior lives, as I've put over that, I think WWE genuinely has a show Bible now. I think characters have like that sort of profile that a showrunner provides. I want to see what is happening in Apollo Crews' life as well as Giovanni Vinci's. But I want to trust it as being something rather than nothing.
Yeah. So then Saxton approaches Kevin Owens again, and he says, no offense, man, I'm going to go out there and talk to him about it. And he walks out to the ring. And he says, look, I know people want to know what I think of this whole Cody Roman situation. I have to be honest, and before he can go any further, he's interrupted by the Bloodline. Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu walk out. No Solo Sikoa, as we mentioned. Tama Tonga, in his inimitable style, says, Cody and Roman embarrassed Solo last week. That was a big mistake. Cody and Roman are going to get what's coming to them at Bad Blood, but tonight, you're going to get what's coming to you, Kevin Owens, by orders of the real tribal chief, Solo Sikoa. And Owens knows he's outnumbered, but goes, bring it on, basically. And they do the, not circling the ring, because there's only 3 of them. There's one obvious exit, but
triangle in the ring.
Owens obviously drops the Gorillas of Destiny, but he's there with Jacob Fatu. And the numbers game catches up to him. But DIY come out to make the save and clear the ring, shatter machine on Tonga Loa. And then out walks the SmackDown GM, can't remember what his name is, and says, you're sick and tired of this. People fighting when there's not a bell ringing. And says, 3 heels, 3 baby faces. There's your main event. Job done.
What do you think? We're 2 things here. I think we're fans of Tama Tonga generally, but all of us here at WhatCulture have had like really lovely dealings with Tama Tonga in the past.
Apart from Phil, yeah.
Phil tried to kick Phil's ass, but Phil needs an ass kicking from time to time.
Yeah.
So that's me doing my CM Punk press conference. You should reveal who you're friends with before you ask questions, Nick. So we've had a nice experience with Tama Tonga in the past. So I never want it to come across like when I was banging on about Baron Corbin buying me a pint. It's like, you got to say these things before you say what you feel. Full disclosure and all that. What do you think of the Tama Tonga?
I don't know what they're going for.
You're going to just over time, you're like, oh, I sort of like it now. Or
I think so. I've already
wrestling has a habit of doing that.
I've warmed to it more than when it was just so out of the blue. When,
the backstage. Yeah. I don't know. People in the building, some of the people in the building were laughing at it, and you could hear that. And
well, they are the jokes. Not that they're joke wrestlers, but they are the jokes. So they are the two people who, if you're going to kick someone's ass in the bloodline, it's those two.
And range, and I talk about range and identity, and these people actually wrestling and being the characters. Like, if they buy it, I will buy it too. Like,
I think the thing that helps Tama is his work.
Yeah.
If he was going in there, and no offense to him, but working the way that Tonga Loa does, people would have buried this.
Yeah. Because it is a bit clownish, but as you say, that is kind of the GOD's role within this bloodline. I don't want him to stop doing it. I want to see if I come to enjoy it or not. I don't know. I'm sort of jury's out a bit at the moment.
Yeah,
but don't give that up.
It's nice range though. If they had a promo train where it was like Solo, Pretender to the Throne, Tama Tonga, Tasmanian Devil, and then Jacob Fatu. Oh bollocks! I'm terrified of everything he says.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love you, Solo. Like Tonga tries to do it too, and he's like, "I love you, Roman." No.
So Bayley and Naomi are talking backstage. This was fascinating. They've basically got the common goal of just let's get this belt off Queen Nia. And Naomi says, "Hey," because they both like, "I'm going to win, and I'm going to get the title shot. I'm going to win. I'm going to get." And it's friendly banter, but also intriguing because Naomi says, "When I win, you'll get the first title shot," and Bayley says, "And when I win, I'm throwing a party, and you're first on the guest list." Why wouldn't you give her a title shot, Bayley? What's going on there?
Ding dong, hello. Last week, we said it was her trying to fold in her heel shtick into being a babyface. That
music, that's heelish because I hate it.
Everybody hates the worst music in WWE. Is Bayley then more natural of the two heels? Yes. But was she not healed for so long that it feels early to be turning her back? Also, yes. So I don't know.
But also Naomi could turn and justify it by saying if Bayley wins, for example.
Triple H likes his heel turns with that much justification.
Or Bayley costs Naomi, for example, I will get to my prediction for what comes.
Because all's fair.
Bayley costs Naomi and she's like, well, you cost me and you said I wouldn't even get a title shot. So if Naomi, really interesting to see if they decide to do that.
It does feel like they're telling an actual story with Naomi really for the first time. So it's nice. It's high time.
Then we got the match: Naomi and Bayley versus Queen Nia and Tiffany Stratton, and it's Texas Tornado. So they can all be in the ring at the same time.
No DQs, no rope breaks.
Fun back and forth. Heels sort of get the upper hand as we go to our first break, but when we come back, they spill to the outside. Nia Jax throws Naomi over the barricade, tries to do the same with Bayley, but Bayley gets out of it and pushes Jax into a huge kick from Naomi. Hits a suicide dive, and Naomi hits a crossbody on Stratton on the outside. Bayley hits Stratton with a superplex and went for the pin, but Naomi broke it up. Bit of a moment of what's going on here. But they make up and hit a nice double backdrop on Nia Jax.
Oh my God.
I don't know why, but it made it look like, no one's ever done that to Nia.
Yeah.
But Jax comes back, takes Naomi down, goes to the finish, but Bayley comes over and cuts her off as she's climbing the turnbuckle. Stratton gets involved, and Bayley and Naomi hit a stereo elbow and leg drop on both of them. Both get a 2 count. Naomi and Stratton fight on the top rope. An X Factor from Naomi on Nia Jax looks great. But as she's covering her, Stratton thinks, I can break this up with hitting a swanton. But Naomi sees it coming and moves. And Tiffany swantons Nia. Bayley and Naomi hit a 1D on Tiffany Stratton. But Nia Jax has recovered at this time. Gets Bayley up, Samoan drop. But in amongst all this, Naomi jackknifes Nia. And Bayley also has a crucifix on where they are. Bit of a faff because this is they're tangled up a little bit in the ropes. 1, 2, 3. Nia Jax is shocked. So am I, going, well, who won then? But we'll answer that in a minute. With thoughts on the match?
Not bad. They wanted to do a lot here. So it was tornado rules for the benefit of the finish. It was all action. If you watch this back, everybody's always moving.
Yeah.
And you can
There's a lot less of that whole one move, better roll to the outside for 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement and a lot of action. Some of the stuff doesn't, some of it was like only okay. Like a lot of the work, I think like there was a couple of like little timing issues here and there, right down to the finish actually, but I think it was more creative for the stipulation. I think it helped the energy they were going for. I continue to really love the Tiffany and Nia story within a story stuff that they do with them two every time. As you pointed out, you've got a story within the baby faces as well with where we're going. The relief of it definitely having a finish helped.
Yes.
Because we talked about how they could just as easy go to a DQ here to set up the triple threat, which, you know, like we'll get to that in a minute. But not bad this. I continue to enjoy Nia Jax on every conceivable level.
Yep.
I'm not just enjoying the promos.
It felt like a big thing that she got pinned as well.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I'm not just enjoying the aesthetic of her being queen, of her being champion, of her being able to assert her physical dominance across the division in a real feeling way, as opposed to that very fake Alexa Bliss story from back in the day. And you're right, the protection of her that largely goes sort of unnoticed was laid bare here, because when she got beat, it was as if they really had shifted the immovable object, and that they can both lay claim was simultaneously a really smart way to put over Nia Jax and build the tension between the two of them. So
it took both of you to pin me.
Yeah, exactly. The booking is good. It leaves a lot of, like, I don't want to say outs and it be a bad thing, but it leaves a lot of like satisfying storyline outs rather than booking outs. There's a big difference there. You want to give heels excuses. You want to give baby faces motivation. You don't want to give bookers a pass. You know, when a program books itself into a corner, it's like, well, now nobody can lose. Well, it's fake, mate. Like, you shouldn't have put yourself in that situation in the first place. The character should be real within the context of this. So I like it on those terms.
A little bit later on, they're in the SmackDown GM's office. I forget what his name is. And he says, because they're arguing, well, who won then? What are we doing here? And he says, you two face off next week. Winner takes on Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship. And we will save our thoughts for what I anticipate is going to be,
I, for one, look forward to a straight singles match for the title.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Friday. But prior to that, there was a vignette from Chelsea Green. I'm sorry, I don't know where I got confused or WWE just changed their minds, because I thought the dumpster match was going to be the Friday just got them.
I saw like a lot of people not knowing that it was even a thing, but it was the online thing, wasn't it? They did with Vicky Guerrero.
Yes.
There was a whole backstage bit. And maybe it was just the date wasn't, because I was with you when I saw that.
I want him to build it. I especially with this.
I love this match and I love this, yeah.
She's training, sort of. She's got a hard hat on and a high vis, and a bin bag gets chucked to her, and she's grossed out. And then she beats up a mannequin with Michin's face on it and chucks it in a dumpster. She also stands next to the dumpster and says, "Oh, what's that, Michin? Oh, is that you in the dumpster?" And she goes in to get her and then gets bitten on the hand by a raccoon, I think. It says basically, I'm going to kick your ass as a result next week. Oh, no, 2 weeks, Nashville. Next week is the Melo Andrade 6.
People say that WWE isn't in touch with humanity sometimes, the way it produces stuff. And I saw this online compared, keep your guns in your holsters here, compared negatively to an NXT type segment.
Can't imagine what that would look like. Was this from like Black and Gold era?
Well, that was what I assumed too. But to me, this was extremely relatable, and they've done a brilliant job. Yeah. Chelsea Green, how do we know Chelsea Green,
brackets, future world champion.
Well, indeed. How do we know that right now in this storyline, Chelsea Green is a heel? Not because she's cheating in the matches, not because she's rude to folk backstage at tapings. It's because she apparently doesn't like going to the tip. Who doesn't like going to the tip?
Exactly.
You've got to be a heel if you hate the tip. Going to the tip, was this the same for you? Like
I went a while back for the first time in ages, and it brought back a flood of memories.
I loved going to the tip as a kid. I think I've told you about this before. When so I'd sometimes, like, if we were getting rid of some furniture or something, like, I don't know if I'm speaking like to British people specifically, but American has the tip.
Yeah.
Like, there's an episode of The Office where Michael and Dwight lose the leads and they have to go to the tip. What do they call it? Like landfill.
Yeah, whatever.
It's where Chelsea Green was. Garbage land. The tip. The dump. The town dump.
Yeah, that's
maybe.
it.
Crushed cars and that. They look cool. As well. But like the tip, when I was the one we used to go to in Filey had like a tip shop. So it was the guys that worked
tip finds.
Yeah, the guys that worked at the tip. Like obviously they were saying, oh yeah, like bring your stuff to the dump. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's like there's some whatever in there, some computer games, some toys. They'd like have a bit of a route through if it was obviously sanitary and safe and all that. Have a route through, and if it was all right, they'd shine stuff back up, turn it sideways, and sell it at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
And I got WWF European Rampage for the Amiga from the Tip Shop. A terrible game, but it had wrestlers.
So one of the better Rampages I've seen.
Wrestlers on the cover, so I bought it. But it was like 50 pence from the Tip Shop. Early 90s.
So now she's the babyface in this feud for us.
No, she's the heel.
Oh, no, because she didn't like going there. Sorry, yes.
It's like if Meechin now goes to Tip and she's like, it's awesome at the bloody Tip. And you see her doing Tip.
But I know anything about dumpster matches because I bloody love going to the Tip, me.
And you could do it safely now because we have recycling centres where the Tip's been split into like 15 bins. So you know not to go in like the household waste bin. Yeah. But if you treat yourself to the paper and plastics bin, safe. And we don't have raccoons that I'm aware of.
No.
We have foxes. Foxes in London, especially outside Wembley. But
Action Andrade.
Indeed. What it's my favourite thing about this country. It's certainly not the snacks. It's certainly not the weather. And it's rarely proximity of wrestling shows. My favourite thing about this country is low stakes predators. The only things that can attack me are badgers, or do we have otters?
Yeah.
Otters can do you. Apparently in bits of the moors, the North York moors, which is near where I grew up, there's the odd adder kicking around, grass snake. I never saw one.
I've seen an adder when I went walking in Scotland with my dad.
Yeah. You can see the snake skin sometimes.
Braved it out there. I was like, Dad's an adder here.
Well, it's not even venomous, is it?
Don't tell him that. Don't spoil the illusion.
Just a bit scary. But yeah, badgers, otters, adders. Oh my. But they're the only things, and a fox theoretically. But I couldn't tell when we saw that fox. I should have asked Action Andrade.
Darius Martin and Action Andrade were trying to beckon it closer like it's a cat.
Beguiled by a fox. Whereas I'm not even beguiled by a dog or a cat, let alone a fox. Is the fox scared of you, or are you supposed to be scared of it? Because I'm always scared of it. That's me versus animals. I'm scared of it.
Yeah.
But I don't trust them. But would a fox go run a mile if it saw? Would it go?
I think if you did the whole "Wah," like you have to do to like a bear or whatever, it would bail. But I think people go stupid because they go, "Oh, look, a furry little it's nipped me."
I never want to get. I never even want to be. American viewers, listeners.
I think it's the Dominic Mysterio of animals. Am I right, wanker me?
The fox. Tell me at Michael Hamflett on Twitter, videos, pictures if you got them. But I'm just genuinely interested because I goddamn love your country for its shops, for its big venues, for its big everything. Tell me of an experience you've had with one of your monsters that you live amongst.
Yes.
Because it blows my mind that there are bears
in
your woods and alligators in your lakes.
That goes to our Australian listeners as well.
Christ.
Crikey,
Australia. I might be going.
Even though, that's nice, it's a koala. Surprise, chlamydia.
Right. Koala's got 6 knobs. We've definitely discussed this on SmackDown coverage before.
Don't get me started on duck's knobs.
I might be going on holiday next year.
Oh, fancy Dan.
I've got some family in Thailand, so we might be going out there to see them for the very first time, taking the kids. Yeah, you've been, haven't you? I haven't. Yeah. I have to mute the word on Twitter or on X, because if I see the word Thailand, it's basically just going to be some animal that's there to kill me. Like, oh, there's a snake in my toilet. I know Woody from Toy Story. I can't know what's there. Yeah. I have to just get there and then run away. I don't just jump on something and high ground. I don't know how you. I don't want to go anymore. Change my mind. We're not.
Stay home, eat crisps.
Put it on a t-shirt. Brian, put it on any Photoshop you want in the world. Stay home, eat crisps. That would have been my government message without a pandemic. Stay home, eat crisps, watch the Fed. They always did it in triplicates, didn't they?
God, it's dark times.
Me on a podium. Ladies and gentlemen of the United Kingdom, in these difficult times, stay home.
I have one simple message.
Eat crisps and watch the Fed. Why do we need to?
Any questions?
Yeah, one. Why would we not just live our normal lives? Why would you when I'm telling you can stay home?
The best version of your life.
Eat crisps and watch the Fed.
Main event time. Chaos, this main event.
That's my, eat, sleep. Stay and watch the Fed. Repeat.
Kevin Owens makes his entrance. DIY's music hits. Where are they? They're getting the crap beaten out of them backstage. And Owens just sort of goes, figures, and attacks them as they make their entrance. But of course, 3-on-1, he gets beaten up. But the Street Profits come down to make the save, and we've got our 3-on-3 match. I really like this. I've not gone through in granular detail every spot in this match, because the story of the match early on was fun back and forth. Hey, Guerrillas of Destiny and Street Profits and Kevin Owens. It's a 50-50. It's a coin toss around the ring. Doesn't matter who's in control. When Jacob Fatu comes in, he's taking over.
Yeah.
There were some great spots in there.
He was brilliant. Yeah, this is going so well.
Dropped, I think, Montez Ford early on. At one point, you thought, oh, Angelo Dawkins. You know, he had a great spot with the pounce or whatever from WrestleMania a few years back. Maybe he can. Oh, no. He just runs into a super kick from Jacob Fatu, who then hits a moonsault to take us to a break. When we come back, Tonga leaps at Dawkins, but Dawkins catches him and suplexes him. So Fatu's like, right, time for me again to take back over. Does exactly that. But at one point he jumps at Dawkins. Dawkins moves and gets the hot tag to Montez Ford. Real flashback, this, for me, of, Montez Ford really needs that singles push because he looked incredible in here.
Street Profit both had another really great night.
Step-up knee, that standing moonsault that he hits for a 2 count. Owens comes in and jumps out of the ring, runs around it, and just sort of clotheslines everyone. Then hits a frog splash on Tonga Loa from the apron. Hits a cannonball and a swanton on Tama Tonga for a near fall. Goes up top. Tama Tonga, what are you thinking? Tries to suplex him, and he does the counter suplex thing that he does. Tonga Loa breaks up the pin, so Owens hits a stunner on Tama Tonga. But again, Tonga Loa keeps interfering, and the ref decides that's that. Calls for the bell. After the match, it all breaks down even more. Montez Ford hits a flip dive onto the Bloodline, but the Bloodline, again, takes back over, tries to triple powerbomb Kevin Owens. They clear the table, but DIY limp out to try and make the save, and they get their asses handed to them again. And this time they go, right, Street Profits are down, DIY are down. We're going to kill Kevin Owens. They set up, but Cody's music hits. He runs down with a chair, takes out the Guerrillas of Destiny, gets in the ring with Fatu, just kicks the chair out of his hands.
Oh my God.
Cody comes back there with a Cody cutter on Jacob Fatu. Owens grabs the chair. Cody clears the ring. George acts with him, and you think, oh, God, Kevin's going to turn on him and twat him with the chair. This is the time I most believe it was going to happen.
Same.
But Cody turns around, and Kevin Owens doesn't, for now, hit him with the chair. And Cody extends his hand, and Kevin Owens eventually shakes it, and they hug. But all's not well.
STOR. Why the Fed's so goddamn hot in 2024? This was brilliant, and on any other show, this would be all that people would want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I actually think it went under-discussed on account of the mini-movie between Roman and Cody. From end to end, this was both highly entertaining pro wrestling television. This was utterly captivating sports entertainment. And it was a complete assurance, I think, that every single character on screen here, even the ones that looked like complete putzes in the form of DIY, will do better as a result of what we watched here. Like, I feel like the match was really good, by the way.
Signpost about 3 different turns from this.
Totally. The match was really, really good. Like, better than good in places. Ford and Dawkins had their, like, umpteenth brilliant night, but, like, is Triple H going to finally go with them? Who knows? But another amazing night for the Street Profits when they're given so little creatively.
Yeah.
One of the only things you can ever cling on to with the Street Profits, and this is ideal for a situation like this, is that they're friends with Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
So they do the right thing by KO, and they did again here, and that was lovely. I love that, like, genuine LTST that exists between Kevin Owens and the Street Profits, and, like, why that is so well deployed here. God, this was good. Why that was so well deployed here was because when Kevin Owens was in a pinch, he could rely like that on the Street Profits, who came out like they weren't.
You would imagine they were right behind DIY when they were running out to make the save, and then they went, "Oh, that'd be babyface numbers advantage.
We need to do what's right by Kevin Owens." Why is that important right now? Because we need to be thinking about who Kevin Owens can trust, right? Because then we're going to get the segment we get later on with Cody. After what we've already seen, we know that Owens has got some pretty strong feelings on this video, even if he hasn't had a chance. So we're already being shown and told, here's Kevin Owens in a trusting relationship with his colleagues. Here's a lovely example of that. How different does that look to his relationship with Cody? Think about that, viewer. Consider what that must mean. In the meantime, you've got DIY absolutely getting their asses handed to them. Something will happen with that. They are simply not going to be losers on that scale without...
Triple H's favourites, aren't they?
Yeah, like, is it a heel turn? Is it a rethink? I don't know. But they basically made a save, got destroyed, like, just about return enough to get destroyed again. That isn't for nothing.
No.
Maybe it is, and I'm just being made a fool of, and in 6 weeks I'll be nowhere. But I just feel like what we saw there wasn't for nothing. I think they will take a long, hard look at, is it worth fighting the Bloodline on fighting other people's battles?
Yeah.
Or some sort of like reconciliation of what exactly they're doing in the career. Look, we lost the tag title straight away. They're kicking our ass easy. We need to rethink. I don't know, but something's going to come from that.
and I think the tag title brief run factors into that as well.
Yeah.
Because who did they lose it to?
Indeed. So that's all there. In the meantime, the Bloodline, without Solo, and that is important, were able to overwhelm a 5-on-3 numbers game by being the Bloodline, by constantly. It was that old-fashioned Shield formula, wasn't it?
Jeff Fatu equates for 3 men, basically.
Well, indeed he does, yeah. But the point was that the Guerrillas of Destiny are more than just, here at least, they were more than just crash test dummies for the baby faces. It was like Tonga Loa's most useful thing was basically interrupting a pinfall, running in, cheating. It caused a disqualification, but the disqualification was there to illustrate something.
Yes.
Made me think of the Shield days where it was like, you could put the Shield against 10 men because what they'll always do is try and put 2 to a man. And then once that's beaten down, 2 to a man, 2 to a man, 2 to a man, 2 to a man. It's like teams that set up to Mark Harland or something like that. It's like, you got to put 2 on him, you got to put 2 on him. And that was something that made the Shield as great as they were. The Bloodline were doing it here. So the fact that the Guerrillas aren't exactly being, like, they're not trouble when Roman Reigns is out there. They're bumping and feeding for Roman Reigns. But against, like, a less, like, tippy-top guy, they can get that numbers advantage and they can do it without Solo. And they did it here. Jacob, as you're at pains to point out, is just...
Oh my God.
Well, like, he's in God mode because he's greatness on a different level, right?
Yeah.
He is the difference maker, the guy, the Roman Reigns WrestleMania opponent. He's looking that way, isn't he?
Could
like,
be.
He feels right there.
It doesn't feel like, Cody, you get Rock, Punk, you get whoever, Gunther maybe, I don't know, just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Roman, you have, who do you want? I don't know. It's like, oh no, he'd stake the claim to that.
I could well see Roman hospitalizing Solo Sikoa and like
Jacob Fatu at his bedside.
Reclaiming the Eula Fala, and then Jacob popping up the next week and just brutalizing Roman Reigns like anything we've ever seen, taking that Eula Fala off him, and then walking into WrestleMania with it and wearing like,
Oh my God.
wearing like Solo's tights or something, and
I want
just
to be at WrestleMania now.
yeah, me too. Every goddamn day. Like, so it was so effective. How many guys have I just named there? So you've got like the 3 members of the Bloodline, but also Solo Sikoa, because like this was addition by subtraction in terms of what they're doing with that story. Then you've got Kevin Owens, then you've got DIY, then you've got the Street Profits, then you have Cody Rhodes coming out. That's 10 guys.
Randy Orton as well, just in all
Well,
of
this is it,
yeah.
right? So that's 10 guys you see. Sorry, 9 if you discount Solo Sikoa. So 9 guys that you see on screen, plus Solo Sikoa, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, The Rock.
Oh,
Is that everybody?
Jesus.
That's 4 off screen who all have stakes in all of this. If you want to widen the net even further, regardless of what Rikishi says, Jimmy Uso is involved in this, even if he can't be involved in it, right? So you've got Jimmy Uso as an ancillary, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn over on Raw. One more while I'm here. You've got Naomi helping Bayley do the 1D to remind you of a link to all of these people. Like this
Seth Rollins.
This is such a tight, and I'm going to use the word, cinematic universe, right? That it doesn't matter if you think cinema is some dirty word in wrestling. If this is just, it's not cinema, it's a television show. They're different things. This is a set of characters that overlap with other characters that exist in the characters' world. This is tighter than Modern Family because I never explain on Modern Family why there's talking heads. The family is supposed to live their life, and then you're supposed to, are we watching on camera? They look down the lens like Jim in The Office, but it's never explained how they can see a camera. And if they can see a camera, what's the camera doing in their house and catching all these events without ever explaining it? There I said it, WWE greater than Modern Family. And Modern Family won Emmys, so why can't
Yes.
WWE?
Modern Family is great as well.
I perfectly enjoy Modern Family. I'd welcome Phil Dunphy onto Monday Night Raw.
Far better than the Nerds, Big Bang Theory.
Ugh,
Yeah.
disgusting. Does good lead-ins to shows. like
Nerds. Imagine us being nerds. Can you imagine that? I
Anyway,
can't.
this was
that.
well, SmackDown was another narrative Big Bang Theory, but yeah, point I'm making is all them people I've just named and listed off, all involved either directly or indirectly with a bunch of really, really cool micro ramifications. While we are basically being invited to enjoy the macro one, which, as you put it brilliantly, the closest I've ever felt to thinking Kevin Owens was going to do it and becoming that Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. No! Like, they've got me there with that now. It's like the New Day. Like, WWE is so hot and cool and fun that I am given a bunch of babyface pairings that I want to stay friends rather than break up for further directions. So, top marks.
What an episode. Yeah, chaos in the main event. Bayley and Naomi seemingly punching their ticket to Bad Blood, but not quite yet. LA Knight versus Andrade. Giovanni, Vinci losing again, but let it play out. And Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns creating cinema.
The SmackDown review, it's got all this in life and so much more.
We'll see you soon.